Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix. Man, oh man, I don't know what's going on. This new moon in Virgo, woo boy, because the new moon in Virgo has started. But it's kind of interesting because Virgo is complementary to my sign because I'm a Cancer. Because water and earth usually do well together for the most part. And Virgo and Cancers actually have a lot of similarities because Virgos are very nurturing. They can be a little bit judgmental at times, but they're actually very nurturing and they're very giving too. So yeah, before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Well, not all of them, but some of them, now that I think about that. Yeah, I'm chilling at the table because I just finished doing 6 readings today. I'm going to do the other 6 tomorrow. And yeah, which those are the money readings. The love readings for September and the general readings for September are already up. If you're a Virgo, you get bonus readings for each one because September is considered Virgo season. I'm officially a Texan. I'm a Texan. Now, and you know what was so funny? Which I took the day off. I'm such a workaholic because while I've been off, I've still been working. Like, as in my regular job, because people were still emailing me. There's stuff that goes on. And I'm just like, it's difficult for me to put... to, put the laptop down and to be like, no, I'm not checking my emails. It's difficult for me. And now it's just like when I'm not doing it, but I know in my head, I'm like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do that. It gives me, I guess, anxiety a little bit. And like I said, maybe it's the new moon in Virgo where it's a little extra. I'm in my head right now because Mercury, thoughts, communication. So yeah, but I'm adjusting. I went to I call it the DMV, but it's not the DMV in Texas. It's called the, what? I was getting ready to say Department of Social Planning. No, the DPS, I'm pretty sure it's DPS, Department of Public Safety. That's what it is, Department of Public Safety. All right, so I had my appointment today. I was already nervous because technically when you move to Texas, and for a lot of states too, you have to surrender your license from your previous state to your new state. So yeah, so like when I had moved to California many years ago, I had to surrender. Well, not really surrender. What they did is they punched a hole in it. In Texas, you actually have to surrender your license. But yeah. So I went in. I was like, okay, I have all the documents. And when I tell you, I had like double the documents I needed because I was so paranoid. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this. I was like, well, just in case, maybe they'll be like, oh, well, we did take that, but we're not taking it anymore. So I was like, well, let me have this document just in case. Whatever. And the lady was really, really nice. They have someone in there that like just checks over your application before you take it to the representative that you're meeting with. So they don't have to go back and do a whole lot of stuff, which is really cool. So I went in, signed in through the kiosk, and then went to the area, filled out the application. And I was just so nervous. I was praying the whole time. I was like, Lord, please, 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 don't let me have to take this driver's test, because I remember there was a lady I spoke to when I was looking for a new doctor, and it was so funny. Her and I, we ended up talking for like 5 to 10 minutes. She was the receptionist. And she was telling me, because I was like, yeah, I haven't even got my license yet. And she's like, yeah, me too. And she's like, my old license expired. And she's like, now I have to take the test all over again. I was like, what? She's like, yeah. So that was interesting. But what I did last year, and luckily one of my associates had told me about this, my California license, it was about to expire, and I hadn't got an appointment yet with the, you know what it is. I keep on getting it mixed up. DSP, Department of Public Safety, DPS, yeah. So I hadn't got my appointment with DPS yet. And I was like, oh man, my license is about to expire. I can't let my license expire. So I went online, and I remembered one of my associates, he had moved from California to New York. And he was like, yeah, my license, I was supposed to turn mine in within a certain amount of days, but what I did was I just put my California address on my New York license. I put my New York address on my California license. So he was like, they just sent me a California license, and people look at it and it has a New York address. And I was like, I wonder, can I try that? So right when it was getting ready to expire, I put my Texas address on my California license. And it was so funny because one of the people that I was dealing with, where I had to show my identification, they were like, wait a minute, this is California, but it says Texas address. I'm like, yeah, I renewed it with my Texas address. So it was all good. I went in, got my stuff done. It was pretty smooth. I was shocked. I was thinking I was going to be in there for hours. My appointment was at 11:10, and I was finished by like maybe 11:50, give or take. And that's everything. Like me filling out the paperwork, waiting, and then going to the representative, so on and so forth. It was like 11:50, give or take. So yeah, it was really, really smooth. And she was telling me that because I had the documents I had, because she's like, people will come in here sometimes with hardly any documentation. And I was like, nope, had all that. But okay, I do have one complaint. If anybody from DPS, Texas DPS, happens to hear this podcast or see it, please turn up the lights in the building. Because when I had to do my vision test, mind you, she was holding the thing away. And I have 20/20 vision for the most part. She had the plexiglass in front of me, because that was already up. It's already low, like low lighting. I'm like, okay, am I coming here to get a license, or is this like a slow dance club or something? What's really going on? Because the lights are low in there. So I'm just like, okay. And then one of the letters, I was like, that's either a C or an O, because the space wasn't big enough. And I was just like, And she was like, it's a C. I was like, oh, okay. That's fine. And then, because I had to cover my eye, read them from left to right, and then cover the other eye and read from right to left, and do that. So passed the test on that. And I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to take a test, because like in California, you have to take a test. Some people don't know that. Let me tell you right now, if you ever think about moving to California, and you think you're just going to go in there and surrender your license, and then they're just going to trade it out for a California license, you got another thing coming. California don't play like that. You're going to have to take the test. You have to take the written test. Just so you know that. And I was telling her that, and she's like, you have to take the written test? I'm like, yeah. Because I remember, oh my goodness, I was ready to surrender the license, I filled out all the paperwork and everything when I was doing all of this for California. And I was like, okay, so now I'm going to swap this out. And she said, yeah, you're going to take the test. I was like, no, you're misunderstanding. I'm going to swap out my current license for the California license. She's like, yeah, but in order to get the California license, you have to pass the written test. When I tell you my jaw dropped and I got nervous real quick because I don't consider myself a test taker. Not my, I can do it, but it takes a minute for it to sink in. So I'm like, ooh. And I was like, well, what if I don't pass the test? Do I still get the license? She's like, no, you don't get the license. So she was like, if you need to, you can study. And she handed me a book. So I was like, okay, so I take my little book to the corner at the California DMV, and I'm just reading over stuff, and I'm going through the book. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. So I take the test, the written test. I forgot how many, I want to say it was like 30 questions. I'm pretty sure it wasn't any more than 30, for sure. And I hand it to her, and then she starts grading. And she had this thing where she can just, like, you have a sheet of paper and then you put it on top of the other paper and then you mark where the answer is missed, like, because it'll show you what the correct answers are. And then obviously where if you didn't fill in the correct one, she'll just mark there and whatever. And I'm like leaning over the desk watching her grade my written test to get my driver's license, my California driver's license. And I'm just like, okay. And then once it got closer to the end, I started running the numbers because I think the most you could miss was like 6. And I was like, oh, I'm home free. Okay. Because I think I missed 3 on there. So yeah, I got my California license and that worked out. But now I had to surrender my California license. And I have my Texas license, and I'm a Texan from Texas. So here we are. Yeah, it's kind of nostalgic. I still have my California license plates. Just for, I'm a Cancer. You know how we are. We can be sentimental at times. But with surrendering the license, I will say it's like, wow, the ties have truly been cut for the most part. And yeah, it's an experience. And then after I left the Department of Public Safety, I think I said that right, pretty sure, I had to go renew my registration, which if I didn't renew it by next week, I was going to have to go to the tax office and then renew it there. So luckily, and also I found this out too, you can go to a Kroger's or a Tom Thumb and renew your registration there. That is so crazy to me. Because the guy had said that when I did the safety check for my car, which also, this is another thing too. In California, you do the smog every 2 years. You still renew your registration every year, but the smog test is only every 2 years. In Texas, the smog test is every year. And the safety inspection as well, to make sure like your car's lights work and all that other stuff, it's every year. So, yeah, it's every year. So when I had went to the place up the street, because I had seen the garage, and I was like, maybe I should give them a try. Because last time I drove to Garland, which is not super far away, but I was just like, and the people were cool, but I was just like, if I can do it right up the street, why not do it right up the street? So I pulled in, guy did it real quick. Everything was done, paid him. And I asked him a question about it. And he was like, well, just go to, he had an accent. I believe he was Armenian or something like that. Instead of saying Kroger, he was saying Kruger. And at first I didn't understand him, but then the other guy was saying, yeah, like Kroger or Tom's Thumb or whatever. And I was like, oh. And I was like, wait a second, they do that? And he's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So after I left I went to Tom's Thumb and showed her my registration renewal. And yeah, she gave me my stickers and everything at the grocery store. That's crazy to me. Like, why don't all states do that? I don't know of any other states that do that. And I sure enough don't remember California doing it. But whatever. So, yeah, totally cool. Which some people renew online. But I just think it's cool that you can go into a grocery store, do your renewal, and then get your stickers right then and there. I think that's pretty cool. So did that. And then I came back. I was going through emails because there is a major client issue that I've sort of been dealing with. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to have to hop on this Monday when I get back to work. But I was still communicating with one of my coworkers and doing that. And also communicating with other clients too. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm off, but I'm not off. And yeah, it's all good. But I just thought I'd tell you, it's official now. I am a Texan. I have a Texas driver's license now. So kind of cool. And I don't have to renew it it's a long time. I was like, yes, all good. So yeah, the great state of Texas. That's all I got. Just wanted to throw that out. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.